Did you enjoy? No, wait. What am I even saying? Of course you did. Of course you loved Season 8 of Diablo 3, or 4. Who honestly cares at this point? You were ecstatic to play the slop that Blizzard was providing. And now, I know that you are excited, twitching, shaking to know what's happening with Season 9 of Diablo 4, the absolute slop fiesta.
And we just found out how Season 9 plans to change the future of Diablo 4. After a massive campfire chat, 2 hours.
Oh, it's the 5th time Diablo 4 changes its future, boys. Man, if the 4th time wasn't exciting, the 5th is gonna definitely hit it home.
We learned about the season theme of Season 9, Sins of the Horadric, the permanent additions to the game in the form of the reveal of what dungeon escalation was, which was teased in the roadmap, as well as some balance changes and more. And I think it's fair to say that this is going to be the big
balance. I love that word when it comes to anything Blizzard, honestly.
Biggest season yet. But whether that means that you'll like it or not, well, you'll have to have a listen. We'll cover all that in this video. Be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new videos go live. But before we dive in further, first a quick word from this video's sponsor.
Or not.
You'll be hooked. All right, the campfire chat started off by talking a little bit about Season 8. They said that they are happy with the pacing of the game. Now the progression, that is, leveling and gearing up.
Wait. What does it even mean, progression of the game at this point? Season 8 started with reduced experience. People didn't even get to level 20, and 80% of the player base quit because it was too slow. And then Blizzard caved in and literally 3 days later bumped the experience so you get to level 60 automatically. What part of this is them being happy with it? The fact that they tried to change things, but the entitled player base of losers decided, no, we don't like this? What exactly are we talking about here?
I'm glad to hear that they're not going to futz with it anymore, because I like, personally, how things are right now. But the new pace made them realize that, especially in Season 8, while leveling to 60, there just wasn't enough variety in things to do, especially since the season felt like it was pushing you towards doing the incursions. Overall, they want people to be engaging with more.
So it took them 8 seasons to figure out that the seasonal mechanic pushes people to do one thing. This is mind-blowing, okay? And keep in mind, these people are probably being paid top dollar for these decision makings, okay? These people got paid probably top 10% of the US population income for the ability to figure out in 8 seasons that the seasonal mechanic makes people play the seasonal mechanic. Holy shit, can someone contact Grinding Gear Games? This is a breakthrough.
More and diverse activities. They feel that having activity variety is fun, and so they're going to be looking at rebalancing things to encourage different activities, as well as, I guess, kind of spoiler, adding new things to do. They also said that in terms of meta, in terms of what builds are viable, they actually kind of like where things are right now. They feel that there's a greater variety of builds that could engage with all the content than there really has ever been. We don't have like these 2 super powerful outlier builds. And what they strive for in balance is ensuring that every class has multiple builds that are Torment 4 capable, i.e. that they can do all the content in the game. They're not going to be the best.
So it's just nothing really works, but it's good enough. Okay.
Right? Not necessarily going to be the you know, have the most efficient run, but just in general, they want to ensure that kind of whatever, you know, skill that you pick, you can build around that, and you can do all the content in the game with it. That's the...
Oh, is in the 9th season, are they finally gonna fix what I said that they need to do before the game even launched? That they need to make it that every skill is viable to play with, but without some kind of stupid legendary aspect? Is it finally time? 9 seasons in. Holy shit, Blizzard should pay me top dollar.
Their endgame goal, they feel that this season has gone closest to that so far. They're still trying to strive towards that. I very much like this philosophy. I'm very much of the opinion that, yes, you should be able to pick any, like, build as in any kind of core skill. I look at the core skills as the game telling us, you know, this is something that should be viable. If I want to build...
Path of Exile has been doing this forever. Last Epoch did this instantaneously when it launched. And here's Diablo 4. Not Diablo 1, not Diablo 2, not Diablo 3. Games, by the way, that did this. And now in Diablo 4, they're finally realizing that they should probably make this a general part of the game. Okay, cool.
Around Barrage, I should be able to, if I'm able to find all the right combinations of gear and Paragon.
No, seriously, these campfire chats are like a comedy. The Diablo 4 devs, led by complete moron Ted Rod Ferguson, or whatever his stupid name is, #fire him, are figuring out basic hack and slash game mechanics only now. Like, what are we talking about here? Making skills viable? PogChamp. Making every class viable? Pepe Cool. Well, I'm just saying random stuff now. I don't know if these are emotes.
On boards and whatever, I should be able to make a build that can do all the content in the game. And if I cannot, if it's not possible, then that needs to be buffed. And so it seems like we're philosophically aligned there. Great to hear. They also acknowledged that Overpower is
philosophically aligned. 9 seasons in, huh? Wow. Okay. So at this rate, that we're figuring out basic ARPG mechanics, 9 seasons in, 2 years after the game has been released, Diablo 4 is roughly going to be a barely playable game by season 42, maybe? That's not that bad, even.
Is overpowered. Pretty much all the best builds in the game revolve around stacking overpower and overpowering. So going forward, they're actually planning to nerf overpower by about 80%. They're going to change some of the math on how it works. It's a bit of a complicated stat. It scales off of your life and your fortify. They're going to be doing a change to the additive damage calculation there. Again, the net result is an...
Also, surprise, surprise, the damage multiplier that scales off of like 5 different things and has the highest ceiling in the game is the best one. But I can't. This is like a joke.
Going to be overpower being brought down in power by about 80%. They don't want to kill overpower, but they want to make non-overpower builds competitive. They also acknowledge that the meta did not get shaken up enough in this season, that many of the top builds from Season 7 are still the top builds this season. And it sounds like going forward, they do want to try to shake up that meta more. If I remember...
This is so stupid, by the way. If you want to know why Path of Exile is so successful, if you want to know why Last Epoch is so successful, because they don't do this shit. None of these games ever look at this and do it, okay? They do nerf completely busted, overpowered interactions and whatnot, but those appear kind of rarely, right? But you know what they do? When the next season comes, they don't make every build that was in the previous season irrelevant. They keep those builds strong, but they add new builds. This is the constant problem with Diablo 4, and I'm pretty sure you are tired of me saying this, but every time that something new is added to Diablo 4, something old gets completely made irrelevant. And this is what they're doing this with even skills. Oh, last season, Bone Spear was viable? Shit, let's make it unviable this season because people probably want less abilities to play builds that they want. It's the most moronic choices ever.
Correctly, my top 10 builds of Season 8, I think half of them are the same top 10 builds from Season 7. And I actually want to ask you folks, how do you feel about that? Do you want the top 10 builds to be different every season, or, you know, do you find a build that you like, it's a top build, and you want it to keep being a top build every season? Sound off in the comments about that. All right, next they spoke about the PTR for Season 9 for patch 2.3.0. PTR will start May 7th, run until June 3rd, 1 week PTR starting next Tuesday. So first, let's talk about the new seasonal powers, the Horadric powers. We've had the meme over and over again about It's just powers, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and at first
Yes.
impression, we are getting powers, copy paste.
Yeah!
Very
Oh my
familiar.
god, look at this! I have never seen this before. Whoa! Oh! Could this be from Andariel? Could this be from Mephisto? These are just the boss things, right? Oh my god! What is this? Is crazy. I have never seen anything like this.
Interface at this point with a very familiar layout. It's actually more different than it initially appears. These are called Horadric.
Really? These are more different than it appears. No, just kill me. Just honestly kill me.
Spells, and it's sort of a create a power system. So how does it work? It all starts off with the core of the Horadric spell, which is called a catalyst. It sounds like there's going to be 5 different catalysts, and a catalyst is going to be assigned to a skill on your skill bar.
I get it. I get it. Okay. So this is gonna be the follower mechanic when you cast the skill, it activates. So because we can't add new buttons to the game, that would be crazy. And it's gonna do it like this. Okay, it's gonna have a base effect, and then you're gonna put in things that make the effect different based on what you do. So effectively, yes, this is literally the same fucking borrowed power bullshit system that we have seen forever. Only probably, as always, somehow worse than it was before.
Bar of your choice. So you assign it to a skill bar slot, and then when you activate whatever skill is in that slot, let's say you're a barbarian and you have it on Warcry, then whenever you pop Warcry, you're going to cast the Horadric spell. Now, these catalysts have cooldowns, so it's only going to cast if it's off cooldown itself. As you level it up, you reduce its cooldown. It sounds like each of these does some kind of big unique effect. It's not just damage, they're all very
big unique effect. That just sounds funny by itself.
Visible. One of them is like holy meteors coming from above. Another summons these
guys, meteors of a different color.
Holy pets, I guess. I do think overall there's like a holy theme to it, because they just love teasing us about the paladin. So right off the bat, these powers seem cool and impactful from a visual perspective. I thought the powers from season 8 were the best powers. You had the boss powers, some of them very cool. A lot of them very cool. Right now it does seem like we're getting many fewer of these base powers, at least, right? We only have 5. We will be able to modify them in many ways as we're going to get there, but overall, again, it seems like a reduction in variety.
Dude, this looks so useless.
And perhaps maybe they won't be quite as cool. We'll have to see if they're as
okay, it's not useless, but you get the point.
Cool, cooler, or less cool than the boss powers. Now let's talk about the ways you get to customize your spell. The first way is with an infusion. You're going to assign 1 infusion to your spell, and this seems like a certain element that you can flavor it to. These change the elemental type.
Does this sound exactly like, I don't know, Diablo 3? Yes. Yes, it does.
Type of the spell. And
oh, so that was the 5 things. It wasn't bosses, it was just fire, lightning, shadow dot, and whatever.
It really makes the elements matter, and I really like that. It's not just a cosmetic change, it doesn't just do burning damage, it kind of like, it encapsulates what do you feel this element ought to do, and it kind of does that. So
what do you feel the biggest damage is gonna be of the colors?
If you use the fire infusion, for instance, that's actually going to, in addition to do a burning effect, in addition to leaving a burning puddle on the ground, in addition to transforming the entire elemental damage type to fire, it's also going to burn down enemy structures. So like when a waller puts up walls, it'll burn down the waller walls. And it'll also negate chilling effects from enemies. So again, you have your base spell, you have the infusion that flavors its element, and then you can add 3 arcanas to the spell. Every arcana is just a little modifier, but these 3 together really help tailor the spell to your particular build and playstyle. So for instance, 1 arcana might increase the size of the spell effect. Another might grant you unstoppable when you pop the spell. Another might destroy enemy barriers and knock them down.
Wow. Who's not gonna use the barrier destruction thing? Wow.
And of course, there are progression systems built in where you're leveling
Kill
up
me.
all of the things that we've been talking about, it seems, or some of them, some part of them at least. You unlock additional powers and rank ups and everything. Now, in addition to these normal arcana, right, those modifiers that you can slot 3 in, there are 5 legendary arcana that you can find. And these aren't intended to just be more powerful. They're really intended to be...
Surely, the legendary items are just not intended to be more powerful than the not legendary ones. Holy shit, where have we heard this before?
...be situationally useful. And what's special about these is that...
Okay, let me completely summarize what's gonna happen with this shit system, okay? Blizzard is gonna add a bunch of retarded gunk garbage like destroys walls when used that no one cares about, destroys killing wind when used that no one cares about, and situational complete bullshit like, for example, on use regenerate 50% of your health, which doesn't work because the only defensive stat that nowadays matters is barrier. Okay? And all of these things are going to be dead on arrival. No one's going to use them. The only thing that people are going to be using is the biggest damage thing that they can get, or the biggest damage multiplier that they can get. And none of it's going to matter, okay? All of the things that Blizzard intended to be situational is not going to matter, because keep in mind, there is no difficulty in Diablo 4. The difficulty in Diablo 4 is getting killed by a white mob, because the balancing and hardness of this game is based around damage, HP, and defensives. And that's it.
Every legendary arcana does something different for every catalyst. So arcana normally, right, it's like 20% bonus radius to the spell effect, right?
Gain fear enemies for 6 seconds? No one's gonna... They actually apply 90% slow. Okay, fear's useful now.
And it doesn't matter what catalyst you attach that to. Whereas a legendary arcana, it will do something different for every of the 5 catalysts. So that's 25 combinations. There's 5 legendary arcana, 5 catalysts, 25...
Oh, wait. There's difference. So this is 80% slow, and this is fear enable if there is a chance to another stat to fall. No one cares. Okay, so see, this is like completely useless, and that's it.
Different possible things that they can do. So all of this taken together, I do now think this is the best power system that we have. I know, again, we meme about it's copy-pasted powers over and over. Every season is temporary powers. Of the temporary powers, I think this system is the most robust, the most ability to customize it and level it up and tweak and change things in different ways. Now, additionally, we're getting Horadric jewels. These are going to be similar to the occult gem.
Okay, so I don't know if he's actually, drinking the Kool-Aid himself. I don't know, Riker. I hope you're not drinking the Kool-Aid yourself at this point, but you understand this is literally not in any shape, way, or form different from Season 8 boss powers? You understand there's literally no difference except that you can choose the element. There is fundamentally, literally no difference. Fundamentally, literally no difference. Arguably even less variety because there's not going to be enough activatable, but there's only 5 things that you can choose from to activate it.
Gems from Season 7, in fact, it is copy-paste, but reworked and improved. And they won't be as expensive to make as the occult gems. Again, these Horadric jewels will be pretty similar to the occult gems. They're going to give you all-resistant armor, but they're going to be a bit more customized to the Horadric spells and buffing those Horadric spells. And you're going to craft them using gem fragments and the seasonal currency. Also, they're finally giving us a Bane of the Stricken butt. And I don't know that I like this. Okay, Bane of the Stricken in Diablo 3 was a necessary legendary gem used in pretty much every build that would push the pit. Diablo 3's version of the pit. And what it did was, the more you attack a single target, you gain an accelerating damage buff against that target. It used to take like 5 minutes plus to kill the Rift Guardian, or the boss at the end of a pit. It would just take so long to kill that one guy. Once they added the Bane of the Stricken, that really cuts down on that time to, half of that or less. D4 doesn't have any mechanic like that until we are now getting the Tyrant's Bane Horadric Jewel.
Tyrant's Bane. After you deal damage over time to an enemy, they take 0.3% more damage. How does this even work? Because the damage over time effects actually all coalesce in one dot proc, right? Or not? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, your catalyst deals 100% more damage. However, you lose control over Horadric's spellcraft, causing your catalyst to inherit infusions randomly. What does that even mean? You gain a primary core stat, 8% maximum life, and unhindered. However, you will be haunted and sank to darkest place by jewel guardians who were entombed to protect this relic. Okay. I need an adult.
So again, I'm glad, because it's going to really help against, single targets, but it is only applicable to damage over time builds. And that is my concern. It is only when you apply a dot do you gain that damage buff. So now I'm wondering, okay, does that mean that all pit pushing builds are going to become dot based, or otherwise find ways to work dots into their setup in order to benefit from this bonus?
Probably.
At the end of the day, I don't know. We'll find out next week, but that is a concern of mine. And I'll state, folks, that if you want to look through all the patch notes, they are available on Diablo4.com. All right, now let's talk about the new content to play. So the powers are seasonal only, the occult gem seasonal only, but these activities are permanent additions to the game. First, we have strong rooms, or Horadric strong rooms. These are going to be micro dungeons that you run into. They're going to be hidden within nightmare dungeons. When you enter the stronghold, your goal is to collect a bunch of Horadric attunement by killing enemies. So there's some echoes of the Gauntlet. I don't know if you folks remember the Gauntlet system that was in the game for some time before being removed. That's where the leaderboards were attached to. Your goal is to maximize your attunement.
They removed that? I didn't even know.
Kind of similar to the Undercity. But anyway, your goal is to maximize your attunement, because attunement is going to improve the chest earned at the end of the strong room, which you get after defeating a mini-boss. There's apparently different gizmos, they call them, to interact with, and interacting with them in the right way is going to help you maximize your attunement. There's also a handful of different tests that you can interact with at the start of a strong room that will then affect how that strong room plays out. It sounds like there's a whole lot of mechanics behind this. We didn't really get many details, but preliminary thoughts are this is a cool system. This is something different. It almost feels like it's a miniature combination of a Undercity and an Infernal Hordes.
Does anyone do Undercity? Does anyone do Infernal Hordes after you get to 60?
I'm very optimistic for this, and we'll find out next week. Then we have the Escalating Nightmares. An Escalating Nightmare is a special kind of nightmare dungeon. Now, sometimes in a strong room, you're going to find an Escalating Nightmare Sigil. These give you access to special nightmare dungeons, which are the Escalating Nightmares. And
people are going to complain that this doesn't drop enough, so this is going to be being dropped by everyone for free from everything, 100%, mark my words.
And basically what these are nightmare dungeons where at the end you're going to find a doodad to interact with that opens a portal to another nightmare dungeon that is going to be more challenging, and you can keep chaining those. You're going to be fighting through a series of nightmare dungeons. We don't know how many exactly. And the escalation is that every subsequent nightmare dungeon gets more and more affixes stacked on it. It inherits the affixes you already had and adds more. We're also seeing a complete update to the affixes, by the way. Positive affixes are being added, reworked tremendously. We basically just have currently the Greed Shrine and the XP affixes. Well, we're getting new beneficial affixes. They're adding a bunch of new positive affixes that have varying rarities. and they're reworking the negative affixes to avoid penalizing specific elements or specific builds. And an escalating nightmare culminates with a new boss fight, a reworked Astaroth from the campaign. So overall, I'm liking what I'm hearing about this system. This is a lot of love to Nightmare Dungeons. Nightmare Dungeons currently are something that I almost never interact with. These new escalating dungeons, if the reward is right, yeah, that sounds like something that can be fun to engage with. I will say...
Oh god. I mean, that's just... who cares?
This still does not address the thing I keep bringing up, which is meta progression, and I'm actually working on a video, folks. I'm hoping to publish it next week. I'm going to clearly lay out what I mean by meta progression, and I'm going to present a mock-up of a meta progression system and what that could look like in Diablo 4, so stay tuned for that video. Now, the devs then spent a good chunk of time talking about class balance changes. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Again, there's patch notes if you want to see it. In general, anything that is really strong is getting nerfed, and they're trying to promote greater variety. They don't want to outright destroy whatever's really strong, but, you know, anything that's an outlier, they're trying to bring down. They're trying to promote greater diversity. If anything is used in, like, every, you know, sorcerer build, they're going to look to bring that down, maybe buff things to compensate. They're also doing some rebalancing of damage affixes on gear. So we were talking about the Overpower nerfs, right? Well, what they want is, whether you want to do an Overpower, a Vulnerable, a Crit, a minion build, whatever it is, whatever damage type you want to stack in different slots, that these are all viable. That it's not just, well, I can stack more Overpower damage than anything else, so let me go Overpower. So we're going to see numbers change actually on gearing. We're also seeing across the board massive buffs to basic skills for all classes. Each of them's going to be doing double to triple damage now. They don't, however, want to see basic attack builds just dominate the endgame meta, so any of those items that are giving a lot of love to basics.
I mean, is that a basic attack werewolf druid build that actually works? Asking for a friend.
Skills are probably going to be dialed down quite a bit. They do want basic skill builds to be viable in the end game. They just, you know, there's certain items right now that tie that with a tripling of the damage of a basic skill, and, well, Season 9 would be just basic skills. They're changing our baseline max resistance. Currently, your default max resistance is 70. They're upping that to 75. The max resist...
Well, to be fair, that's pretty decent. That is... how much is that? 16.5% survivability increase. That's a 16.5% less damage taken buff, actually. Pretty good.
Remains 85. They're also nerfing some of the items that give too much resistance, that basically solve the resistance puzzle too easily. So we're raising...
in a game like Diablo 4, resistances, armor and shit, no one cares about this, okay? You made the game so simple-minded, so flaccid in a sense, that no one wants to have the problem of resistances even existing. This is what happens when you make the game easier and easier. People don't want to deal with things like resistances. People don't want to deal like things with armor. People don't want to level. Because all of these things are just small hindrances that the game is not even designed to be entailed about. It's stupid.
Raising the resist cap, but we're making it harder to reach. They've also done a pass on key passives. They've looked for key passives that are dominating, bringing those down, looking for ones that aren't used enough, bringing them up. Again, they just want more parity of choice between them.
Oh boy, what is this? A new favorite lesbian? Holy, okay. This is the thumbnail, boys. This is the thumbnail. Wait, I'm making a screenshot. Holy, this is the thumbnail, okay? Does Rod Ferguson even go on camera now? D4 thumb. Does Rod Ferguson even go on camera now? I think I haven't seen that that loser in forever. Anyway, that was Riker. 10 out of 10.